The only little good things you do, they make me no. This distance is taking a hold of me for sure. Baby, come.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, A Glimpse of Ray, where I get straight to the point. So I am married, have been for 7 years. We are a blended family, but our 3 youngest that we share together all have autism. They're ages 4, 5, and 6, and today we are going to talk about the signs that I saw in my 5-year-old that was only 1 at the time, and his diagnosis and so forth. As a heads up, if you hear coughing in the background, it's my youngest in my room. I'm going to try not to be loud because he is taking a nap. And if you're a mom, you know you don't prematurely wake your kid up from a nap. So anyway, my 5-year-old's name is Tyler. At the time that he was diagnosed, he was age 1. So I put down in my notes what order I'm going to go in because the way my ADHD is set up, I'll be all over the place. Okay. So first off, like I said, Tyler is 5 now, but he was diagnosed at the age of 1. I believe he was like 19 months old. I stopped counting months after my kids turned 1. But for the purpose of this, he was 19 months old. He was diagnosed with autism level 1 and global developmental delay. At that time, a few years down the line, he was diagnosed with ADHD as well. So I don't really go by levels in the sense of autism diagnosis. If you're autistic, you're autistic. The levels don't always have as much importance. There is level 1, 2, and 3, but the level that you're diagnosed with, that just kind of means the level of support that you need. But that can change on a day-to-day basis, which is why I don't really rely on the levels. But for the purpose of this video, he was diagnosed at a level 1, mild on the spectrum. So those were all his diagnoses. What led up to me wanting to get him evaluated was, if you saw my video prior, I was pregnant with my 4-year-old at the time, and we saw signs in my 6-year-old Trey. We took him to get his evaluation, and at the time, I didn't see a ton of signs in Tyler. They were kind of hard to tell in a sense, but I did happen to ask the woman, the doctor, with me being pregnant and with this child being diagnosed, what's the likelihood that Tyler could be autistic as well? And I think at the time she said it was like a 30% chance. So she was like, I know the perfect person to evaluate him. She evaluates kids his age. And so I did more research on autism, and I saw a few of those signs, but I didn't know if it was all in my head or if those were genuinely autism signs. That's how we end up getting him, went about wanting to get him evaluated. His signs at the time was he had stems that weren't as intense as Trey's. Trey's stems were more so pacing, running, jumping, constantly moving, constantly screaming or making a noise with his mouth. Tyler's signs weren't as intense and noticeable as Trey's signs. So for Tyler, his signs were things like, I would notice for long periods of time, he would like cross his fingers like this. And he would hold his fingers like that for very long periods of time. And then when I would undo his fingers, he would cross them back just like that. And then I also noticed, like, with his speech, he did a lot of like gibberish. And by 19 months, you should be able to say some kind of words, like a few words. He wasn't saying any words. Any sounds that he made with his mouth was just simply gibberish in a sense. It was really like we would have conversations with him, but we still didn't understand him. He didn't really understand personal space. He liked to be skin to skin with you. Some sounds did bother him and some textures did bother him. Sounds like sometimes like fire trucks or like ambulance trucks will bother him. The sound of water, like bathtub running, will bother him. sounds of like a rubber duck that you would put in a tub. Those kind of sounds bother him. Certain textures of foods will bother him. He wouldn't touch them. He did a lot of stems with his hands. But like I said, his signs weren't as intense as they were with Trey's. The way that Tyler's intake and evaluation went is that we did the intake. I filled out all the forms, and then the woman met him, and she's talking to him. She's trying to play with him, and she's like, he doesn't seem like he's on the spectrum. He gives good eye contact. He's wanting to play with me and engage with me. But if you want me to evaluate him, I can, I guess. I just felt like that was very weird to say. Because if you, as a doctor, you know that autism is a spectrum and it doesn't all look the same. So just because he does those things doesn't mean that he doesn't do others. Now, at the time, because like I said, his signs weren't as intense or as consistent or noticeable as Trey's, I didn't really have a lot of footage to go off of to show this doctor. I had very few videos, very few pictures, but I did show her some. So we went back. She did the evaluation, and she saw that as Tyler got comfortable with her, that's when she started to see the signs more. She would hold out a toy, and she would hold it out far away from her. And every time he wanted more of the toy, he would look at the toy instead of looking at her and then looking at the toy to let her know he wanted more of that. I forgot what it's called, but like I said, it was more so of looking at the object instead of looking at her to let her know that that's what he wanted. Naturally, if you want something and somebody else has it, you're going to look at that person, you're going to look at that person, then that object, and then you're going to go back to looking at that person. Tyler did not do that. She did see, like with his speech, it was a lot of gibberish. She did see that he was very behind, like for his age, even for him to be premature. He wasn't where he should be. So, like, he was 19 months old at the time, but from the scores of the tests that she did, he was placing at like a 7-month-old, a 9-month-old, like anywhere under 1, which is how he got the diagnosis of global developmental delay. Once he got comfortable with her, she did see more of the signs that I was talking about. After he lost interest in her, he went by himself, and then regardless, no matter what she did, he had no more of an interest in her. So it was a lot of like he would avoid eye contact, and if he did give eye contact, it was very limited. After he was diagnosed, I did see more signs in him. I always knew he was kind of like, he didn't like the sound of water in a sense, but I felt like it became a little bit more intense after he got diagnosed. It's like when you feel pregnant or you feel like you may be pregnant, and as soon as you take the test and it comes out positive, all those signs like start to hit you like, damn, I'm really pregnant. Like, you become even more tired after you find out you're pregnant. You become even more nauseous. It was kind of like that. After we got him diagnosed and we knew what it was, I saw more of the things that he was doing before that he wasn't doing before. So he was scared of the sound of water. If it was time for me to give him a bath, and once he would hear the tub come on, he would run and hide. And he always hid so well. We at the time we lived in an apartment, so he always hid so well that I thought he got out of the house. I would be outside looking for him. I'll be under the bed looking for him, under tables, and he would hide because he didn't like the sound of the water. He didn't like the sound of like bath toys. It would scare him. He didn't like the sound of spray bottles. He didn't like that either. He didn't like how water felt when it ran down his body. So I couldn't give, like, once I knew, like, okay, you're not liking the sound of water, so let me try something else other than bathtubs. He didn't like I couldn't do a shower because he didn't really like the way that the water felt running down his body. I still did baths because at the end of the day, you have to be clean. And if it was like me getting a cup of water and pouring it down him, he would immediately tense up. Those were the things that I saw in him that he did more. As far as his behavior goes, he did get to the point where his tantrums and his meltdowns got really bad. Like, if he was having a tantrum or a meltdown, it may have led to like him putting a hole in the wall, him self-harming, him breaking things. At one point, his meltdowns really did get bad, and I didn't always know the trigger to them, but thankfully he's not like that as much anymore. He's calmed down a lot behavior wise. So those were some of the things that I did notice in him. When he did get upset, most times he would like to go and try to hide under something, whether it was a bed or a table. For people that think that autism just looks one way, for Tyler, because he is mild on the spectrum, now Tyler talks a lot. Tyler will have a conversation with you. Sometimes his conversations don't always make sense. I always say that talking to him is like playing charades, because you have to piece together what he says and then go from there and put the sentences together. So sometimes, like if he comes from school, I'll say, "How was school?" He'll say, "Tyler goes to school." He talks in third person a lot. Um, and if I say, "Did you play with your friends?" He'll say, "Play with friends, slide." I know, okay, he played with his friends on the slide. One day he was trying to tell us they played Duck Duck Goose. Um, he said, "Me and friends play Duck Duck," or "Friends play Duck Duck," and I said, "Oh, you play Duck Duck Goose?" And he said, "Yeah," and I said, he named his friends, and he said, "So and so's duck, so and so's duck, so and so's duck, Tyler Duck." I said, "Okay, who was the goose?" He said, "Yeah." So I'm glad that I'm able to have some kind of conversation with him, but that's typically how the conversations go with Tyler now. Because Tyler can hold a conversation, because Tyler is affectionate and he's talkative. People question a lot if he really is autistic. It's actually very aggravating. It's very annoying when, because people see how kind Tyler is and how talkative he is, they ask, "Are you sure he has autism?" As if autistic people can't be kind. It's extremely annoying, but that is what we have dealt with for years. Because Tyler doesn't look like Trey, people ask that a lot. I've seen some people show favoritism towards Tyler because Tyler is more talkative and outgoing. And I've seen people treat Trey differently than they treat Tyler because of that. For the people that think that because someone can hold a conversation or they're talkative, you have to question if they're autistic, you should know that autism is a spectrum. Even if you don't know a ton of details about autism, if someone is speaking up on someone else that's autistic, they're either going to say, "Oh, they're autistic," or they're going to say they're on the spectrum. You should know what the word spectrum means. Spectrum is an umbrella. There's so many different signs of autism, and autism does not look one way. That is why it's called spectrum. So if a parent tells you, like, "Oh, my child's on the spectrum," please don't ask them, "Are you sure?" Don't do that. For the love of God, please don't do that. Um, it's not a compliment. It's not kind. It's an odd question. Asking questions to want to know more, there's a difference between doing that and saying, "Are you sure your child's on the spectrum?" As if that parent doesn't know their child better than you do. Um, but autism does not look the same on everybody. All of my boys, 4, 5, my ages 4, 5, and 6, they were all diagnosed all across the spectrum, and none of them are the same. Okay, that is the point of it being a spectrum. Just so you know, it's going to look different on different people. Some people that are on the spectrum are nonverbal. Some people aren't even autistic, and they just may have Asperger's. There, it autism can look a lot of different ways. And before you comment on somebody else's child and you question what somebody else goes through with their special needs child on a regular basis, do the research and learn for yourself. what you should probably know. I feel like every parent should teach their child to know about special needs kids. And that is just my opinion. Because one day your child is going to come across a special needs child or a special needs adult, and you don't want your child to treat that person different because of their disability and what they may or may not be capable of. Tyler is very friendly, he's very sweet, he's very kind, he's very well mannered. His teachers have told my husband and I, even those things, have gone out of their way to tell us Tyler is such a well mannered, well spoken, and kind child. He goes out of his way to greet everybody in the class every day. If you sneeze, he says bless you. If he accidentally hurts you, he'll say, I'm so sorry. If you cough, he'll come up and pat you on the back. He's just a very kind kid. That does not take away from his diagnosis. That doesn't make him any less of somebody that needs support just because of that. Just because he's kind and he's talkative and can hold a conversation. So I just want to say to the parents that are out there that may not be as educated on this, please be careful of the things that you ask special needs parents and the comments that you make to special needs parents regarding their kid. Now that I've gone through all that, that is the end for this video. Later on, I will do a video on my kids' signs then when they were first diagnosed compared to their signs now. If you have any questions, please comment down below. On my next video, I will explain the signs and the evaluation process and diagnosis of my now 4-year-old. If you want to find me anywhere else other than on YouTube, you can follow me on Instagram at _SlayByRay. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.